What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Jacob Hunter to be exact, and we back with episode 4 of Jake Sports Tape. Today we talking NBA basketball preview. Season starts tomorrow, so I'm going to let you know before the season starts who's my top 5 players going into this season, who's going to be my MVP, my Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Most Improved, who's going to win the East, who's going to win the West, who's going to be in those championship games, and much more. So without further ado, let's get to it. First things first, we're going to talk about the top 5. Who are the top 5 players in the NBA to me for this upcoming season? We're going to start from number 5 and work our way up to number 1. At 5, we got Baby Bird, Luka Doncic, Dallas Mavericks, point guard, point forward, whatever you want to call him. Luka, since he's been in the league, he's been terrorizing people. He's 6'9", 6'8", however tall he is, and he's pretty much, he plays at his own pace, can shoot, can pass, does it all. Hasn't really been playing with a lot of all-star caliber teammates each year, but for some reason he's in the playoffs every year in the Western Conference, causing hell and havoc on teams. Went up against Kawhi and Paul George's first year in the playoffs, and actually the first 2 years. And this past year, he led them to the Western Conference Finals, the Dallas Mavericks, where they lost to the Golden State Warriors. So I look for Luka to continue to be who he is, showing that he's a top 5 player, not taking any steps backwards, actually taking steps forward and possibly cracking his top 4 list before the year is all said and done. And I'll have some more to say about him later on. Kevin Durant at number 4. KD had an obviously disappointing postseason where the Nets got swept by my Boston Celtics. Easy money. But I think he's going to be on a revenge tour this year, him and Kyrie Irving. The guy can average 30 in his sleep, 7-footer. Pulling up from everywhere. Got a handle, can do it all. So KD's definitely number 4, and it's kind of hard to make a top 5 list without including him somewhere in there. So I have him at number 4. At number 3, we got the reigning Finals MVP, Stephen Curry. Mr. 40 feet himself, shooting from half court, averaging 30 in his sleep, doing whatever you need him to do. Obviously won his 4th championship this past year, led the Warriors in that. Got that Finals MVP that he needed so bad. And I look for Steph to continue being who he is, man. And I really don't knock people if they have Steph as number 1, 2, or 3 just because of what he's done, since he's been in the league and really in the last decade. The man has 4 rings. He's tied with LeBron for the most, Draymond and his teammates, obviously, for the most rings right now by current players. So it's hard to knock Steph Curry off that throne. So I'm going to have him at 3 on my list, though. This is just my personal list. Number 2, we have the GOAT, LeBron James. Now, I know most people saying, well, LeBron, he did miss the playoffs last year. Yeah, he did miss the playoffs. But let's be real. The Lakers had a lot going on. And it's really hard to criticize a man who averaged 30. Maybe, he could have done some stuff different here and there. But for the most part, the man averaged 30 in his 19th season. This year, he year 20. Looking like he's 20 years old. So I look for LeBron, and based off the preseason, what I've been seeing, he's sharp. Come on, man. We know what we're going to get for him. Consistency is what he does. So I got Bron at 2, man, and I pretty much expect him to be there. He might even go up or go down depending on the season, but hell, in year 20 to be even the top 5 consideration is insane to me. So I got Bron at number 2. And number 1, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis, to me, was the best player from the point that he won that first finals until now. He's taken over the world, developed each year. Jump shot has improved. He's now shooting threes. Not consistently, but he's worked on it, and you can tell he's gotten better at it. So I definitely have Giannis at number 1. He can do it on both ends. His resume at this age, he's in late 20s. Resume is impeccable right now. Dominant. And I just look for him to, lead the Bucks into the postseason again. A lot of that team's health is going to depend. Well, a lot of that team's success is going to depend on Chris Middleton's health, which is his running mate. But Giannis is, to me, the best player in the world, and he showed it time after time since winning that first finals. So my top 5 going into this year, we got at number 5, Luka. Number 4, we got Kevin Durant. Number 3, we got Steph Curry. Number 2, we got Bron. And number 1, we got Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those are my top 5 players going into the NBA season. And next, we're going to get some conference finals and conference predictions on who's going to come out the East, who's going to come out the West. So let's move on to that. So, Eastern Conference, Western Conference, finals predictions. We're going to start with the East first. So, these 2 teams are the teams that I believe are going to run the Eastern Conference this year. And I'll explain why, right now. So, Philadelphia 76ers first team. Why do I think the Philadelphia 76ers is going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals? Well, for one, they have the most dominant player in the NBA to me. No, it's not Giannis, it's Joel Embiid. Giannis is dominant, but Joel Embiid is more dominant. What else? James Harden lost some weight in the offseason. I know most people are not a firm believer in James Harden. And he's had some rough postseasons, don't get me wrong. But I do think with the renovated roster that the 76ers have, Tyrese Maxey is going to win an award that I'm going to talk about later on, in my opinion. He's going to be a 20-plus point scorer tonight. Still got Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle. Brought P.J. Tucker in this year to help guard some of those players in the East that when playoff time comes around, you don't want those guys that are offensively carrying you. You don't want to have to use them on defense as much. So you got guys like that can kind of help do that and take the load off of them. And I just think Philadelphia has it's just their time, man. The East has been, since LeBron left, the East has been pretty much up for grabs each year. And, each team has had their turn. I feel like the Nets will be there with the Philadelphia 76ers, but Philly's definitely going to be there. And I just mentioned the Nets. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, Steph Curry. The list goes on and on. They have a deep roster. Maybe not the biggest team, but I do think Ben Simmons being there helps them so much on the defensive end. Kevin Durant does not have to guard Giannis in the playoffs. Kevin Durant does not have to guard all these other guys in the playoffs. You let Ben Simmons do that. He's a 6'10" guard, can orchestrate the offense. Kyrie Irving can just play the two and be basically a scorer, and that's what he does. So the fact that you can actually do that and move on with it, I think that gives the Brooklyn Nets a very good chance to come out of the East and compete with the Philadelphia 76ers for the Eastern Conference Championship. Of those two teams, I will say, I do think that the 76ers has the better roster. I know Brooklyn has a lot of pieces, but I'm still kind of hesitant on Ben Simmons right now. I love Ben Simmons as far as his defensive prowess and how he feels, as far as orchestrating offense and stuff. But I'm not so sure that Ben Simmons is sure about himself when it comes to that free throw line and on the offensive end. And we know in the playoffs, the game slows down. Teams getting the bonus late in the ball game, they're going to foul you. And if you go to that free throw line and your demons haven't been exercised, then they will overtake you. And that's what we saw him do ultimately at Philly and got him out of there. So hopefully he can overcome that. But if not, he just doesn't. And that's going to be the Eastern Conference Finals in my opinion, though, my predictions. So from the East, we're going to go to the West. In the Western Conference, I have the Golden State Warriors going back to the Western Conference Finals, man. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green coming back after the incident he just had with Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole, obviously, going to be a very great third wheel for them. Maybe even be the second wheel. I think he might average the second most points. Klay Thompson's kind of still trying to find himself since that ACL. Maybe won't ever be the same, but the fact that Jordan Poole's stepping up, he doesn't have to be. So I think the I think the Warriors will be in the Western Conference Finals. They added some pieces. Obviously, you still have Jonathan Kuminga, who got the experience. You got James Wiseman, who's got the experience. They got some pieces that, they're going to be able to compete in the West, and Stephen Curry is Stephen Curry, so I'm going to pick them. They will be playing against the Los Angeles Clippers this year, though. Clippers are the team that a lot of people are kind of sleeping on. I don't know if a lot of people remember, but without Kawhi Leonard, Paul George almost led them to the Western Conference Finals. Well, no, actually, he did lead them to the Western Conference Finals, to the NBA Finals. I'm sorry, excuse me. But with him being back, both of them being back, adding John Wall, a seasoned vet who, just knows how to play basketball. You still got Reggie Jackson. You still got all those dogs on that team. You got Marcus Morris. I just feel like the Clippers, and Ty Lue is definitely one of my favorite coaches in the NBA. You have a team like that being led by a coach like that, it only sets you up for success. So they still got a lot of pieces on that Clippers team. Luke Kennard, they got shooters. They got big Zubac. They got, whatever you need. Kawhi and Paul George, two of the best two-way players in the NBA. Health is going to be a big thing for them for sure, and it's going to be for every NBA team, but for them especially just because those guys have battled injuries the last few years. But I'm predicting that the Clippers will stay healthy for the most of the year and actually get to the Western Conference Finals where they'll play the Golden State Warriors. So we're going to swing from the Conference Finals predictions to the NBA Finals and who's actually going to win the NBA Finals. So who's going to be in the NBA Finals? So we're going to start in the East first. Between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets, I have the Philadelphia 76ers coming out of the East this year. I just feel like it's their year, man. I do think in that series, the Brooklyn Nets are going to be a team this year that's going to be trying to get out and transition a lot and run. They got guys who can just score the ball effortlessly. So you got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, guys like that. So Ben Simmons is going to be trying to get out and transition a lot and run. He'll be able to do that a little bit in the playoffs, but I do think it's going to turn into a half-court game where I think Philadelphia is best suited for a half-court game than Brooklyn is. You got the ultimate equalizer in Joel Embiid, who you can just throw the ball down to and demand a double team. And if you don't, he's just going to punch on your head, pretty much every play. So I don't think Brooklyn has an answer for that. And the fact that they have James Harden, who I think is going to step up this year and surprise some people. Tyrese Maxey is looking crazy in the preseason, just showing that he's taking that next step into being an all-star or all-star caliber player. I just think that they'll have the advantage over the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm taking Philly out of the East. In the West, we have the Clippers and the Warriors. And of those two teams, I'm taking the Clippers, man. I'm riding with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George this year. I think they have a bounce-back year. I think they're going to be healthy. I think Ty Lue's going to, drop a great scheme for them throughout the regular season to be able to manage them. Not do too much, but do enough to get in the postseason and then make a run. Paul George is one of the most underrated players in the NBA to me. He had his moments where, he kind of shrunk in the bubble. And, since then, but he arose, he shut some people up, including myself. I was hesitant on him, critical of him, but leading them to the Western Conference Finals without Kawhi Leonard and almost winning it, he earned my trust back and made me a fan again. So I'm riding with the Clippers this year. I think they're going to be able to come out of the West, and it's going to be a Clippers and 76ers NBA Finals, which would be competitive. And who's going to win the NBA Finals? That series will be so tough. But I'm going to ride with the Clippers just simply because I do feel like Kawhi Leonard, the guy doesn't say much. He's basically like a robot, but he's just an assassin. Paired with Paul George. I think John Wall is going to be able to help them so much this year. Just being able to give them that transition, that dog mentality that they already have. He's only going to enhance that. Reggie Jackson is one of the best kept secrets in the NBA. He's a underrated guard who can average 16, 17 a game for them. They got Zubac, as I mentioned. Got other guys, Covington, Norman Powell. They got players that can actually play and do a lot of things, a lot of 3-and-D guys. So I just feel like the Clippers, if they stay healthy, they'll be the team to beat in the NBA. And ultimately, they'll end up winning the NBA Finals over the Philadelphia 76ers in 6 games. So it'll be a 4-2 series. And I got the Los Angeles Clippers winning the NBA Finals this year. So those are my NBA Finals predictions. And from that, we're going to swing it to awards, man. That's what we're going to end with. Lastly, we got the awards. Who's going to win the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Most Improved, and things of that nature. So we're going to start with the MVP. Who's going to be my MVP for the 2022-2023 NBA season? Luka Doncic. I think Luka leads the Dallas Mavericks to the playoffs. I don't think they'll get too far. They may have maybe a second round exit, I'll say. But I think he's going to do his thing, man. He's going to average around 30 points, 29, 28, 30 points, 10 assists, probably 8 or 9 rebounds. And I think he's going to lead them, without having another co-star beside him. The fact that he's going to do that is going to earn him the MVP. All while just terrorizing the league as he's done, man. I think it's his time. Voters are kind of getting fatigued with Giannis and obviously Jokic. So, and I don't think they're LeBron, Steph, KD, guys like that. I think they're past the point of actually just getting votes to be able to be MVP. Obviously, we know that LeBron can be MVP every year. KD's had years where he can be MVP, and Steph, guys like that. But they've won those awards earlier in their days. It's time for the young guy to take over. So I'm picking Luka to win MVP this year. Defensive Player of the Year, my guy, Anthony Davis. Let me tell you something about Anthony Davis, too, because I don't like how a lot of people are terrorizing and picking on Anthony Davis just because of the injuries. Anthony Davis has played more games since 2020 than Stephen Curry, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, LeBron James. The list goes on and on. And I feel like Anthony Davis is getting criticized. Now, granted, he's earned some of that criticism, but I will say the injuries that he has are injuries that would injure anybody. He's not basically having injuries that are like crazy. You see him twist his ankle and his whole ankle turns and touches the floor. That's a high ankle sprain. That's going to sit anybody out. I don't get the whole knock on Anthony Davis, but I mean, for what it's worth, I think he bounces back this year, plays a lot of games, wins Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, we know he can guard pretty much 1 through 5. He's a big, but depending on if the Lakers play him at the 4 to 5 this year, that could be key. If it was me personally, I would play him at the 4, just because he's more finesse type big. He's not really a banging body big. I would start Thomas Bryant or whoever else they have to play that 5 position. But that's going to be up to Darvin Ham, obviously. But I'm taking Anthony Davis for Defensive Player of the Year, man. I think he averages around 2, maybe 3 or 4 blocks a game. He'd probably be, points-wise, he'd probably be 24, 25 a game, 10, 11 boards. But on the defensive end, that's what we're focusing on right now. I think he takes that step into showing who he really is. I mean, he's been that since he's been in the league, and the fact that people are discrediting him just because of some injuries is not really fair to him, because without him, the Lakers don't win that championship in 2020. As much as I love LeBron, they don't win that championship without him. Hell, they don't win the Denver series without him. He hit buzzer beaters. He helped shut down Jokic. He's done so many things. So I don't feel like Anthony Davis should get the flack that he gets, and I think this year he'll prove that wrong and kind of prove the naysayers wrong too. So I'm looking forward to that. Most improved player, another Kentucky guy. I mean, this is what we do. We run the NBA, right? Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey last year showed signs that he could be that Philly's third guy. Obviously, you got Joel Embiid, James Harden, but man, in the preseason, he's looking like, yeah, I'm here, and what you gonna do about it? So I'm picking him to be the most improved player. I think he will average around 20, 21 a game. And for Philly, that's all they need. You know, you get him from Joel Embiid. He's going to average high 20s, low 30s. James Harden going to be around 20, in my opinion, this year, probably 21, 20, 22 points a game, 10 assists, 8 assists, something like that, 8 to 10 assists. So as long as Tyrese Maxey doing his thing, the Philadelphia 76ers will be fine. But I do think he wins the most improved player award this year and takes that next step into being an all-star caliber player. Coach of the year, J.B. Bickerstaff, Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, adding Donovan Mitchell was a crazy offseason move. So you got Donovan Mitchell, you got Darius Garland, you got Jared Allen, you got Isaiah Mobley. I mean, you got Isaac Okoro. You got so many pieces, of young pieces too, that's just going to be able to compete. And I think the Cleveland Cavaliers win a lot of games. Don't be shocked if the Cleveland Cavaliers end up as a 3-4 seed in the East. Don't be surprised, because I think that's what happens. So I'm picking J.B. Bickerstaff to win Coach of the Year. And he showed flashes last year, obviously winning games and doing what he did. But I think adding Donovan Mitchell, another all-star caliber player, to that lineup is just going to win them more games. So I'm looking forward to that. And, man, that's my award predictions. That's my NBA predictions, my top 5 predictions. Who's going to win the East, the West, the NBA Finals. And, yeah, that concludes episode 4 of Jake's Sports Take. Next video will be coming soon. I'm going to start dropping videos each week. Just wanted to address major sports preseason and let it flow a little bit so you can actually see what I'm talking about. But that concludes the 4th episode, man. I'm looking forward to it. But until next time, peace.